What's going on, guys? It is Will here, back again, once again, for another episode of the Gridiron Talk podcast. Week episode 8, wild card weekend, man. We are finally in the playoff football, and I love playoff football. Me being a Giants fan, I was a little mad that the Eagles threw the game, but it is what it is because now I get to watch the playoffs without any stress. I don't really care who wins or loses. I have my favorites, obviously, but loses that I thought was going to win, I'm not going to be all upset about it as if the Giants were to lose. Unfortunately, Nick could not do this week at a podcast. He is very busy with work. Hopefully we get Nick before the Super Bowl. He'll let me know when he can come back. But just like I did episode 4, my man Joey Chirstmas, the one who's been doing my thumbnails, and again, big shout out to doing that. My man, he is filling in for Nick this week. And hopefully we get an episode with all three of us. But Joey, how have you been, man?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty excited for playoff football and then next coming weeks, and I'm pretty excited. It's time to get in that football mode. It's that time of the year again.
Like Nick said last week, or maybe I did, one of us, playoff football is the best football. These are where the best games come out. Not even just the Super Bowl, like the whole playoffs in general. This is a good time to watch football. So if you haven't been watching all year, or if you've been watching a little bit less, then this is the time to start watching it again. The structure of the episode is a little bit different because, like last week, there was no boom or bust because me and Nick couldn't predict who was starting or not. And there won't be no boom or bust this week because obviously fantasy playoffs are over. There's no more fantasy football for the year. Obviously, me and Joey will be talking about some players in the games. It's not like we're just going to completely ignore that, but we won't be giving a specific boom or bust. And I think that'll be like that for the rest of the year. Boom or bust is mainly a fantasy football perspective of like who you should play, who you should sit, So with that being said, there's that phrase again, with that being said. But with that, here we go into the playoff football. Joey, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, so the first game we got is the Indianapolis Colts, the 7th seed in the AFC, going against the 2 seed Buffalo Bills at 13-3. The Bills have won 6 in a row. As you guys know, the Bills have not lost since the Hail Mary, with Kyler Murray's Hail Mary to DeAndre Hopkins. So the fact they've only lost since that was their last loss, in my opinion, is a good news for Buffalo. And the main factor is can Sean McDermott, the head coach of the Bills, get his first playoff win? Joey, what do you think? Do you think he will get his first playoff win here against Indianapolis or no? Yes or no?
I think he will, and I think the Bills, the franchise in general, is overdue for a playoff win. They haven't won a playoff game since 1995, which is before we were born. Mm-hmm. So I think this season, I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Before we get into our picks, I do think the Bills will win. But I agree. I think the Bills are overdue for a playoff win, and this is their time to do it. They made the playoffs 4 years ago with Tyrod Taylor, and they just got stifled by the Jaguars defense when they were really good. And last year they should have beat the Texans in the wild card round, but I think their defense choked. They lost like 25-22 or something like that. They lost in overtime to a field goal to the Texans. So besides that, I think I agree with you completely. The Bills are definitely overdue for a playoff win. The Colts are still pretty good, though. Their defense is very good, led by Darius Leonard, the linebacker, DeForest Buckner, and Xavier Rhodes, just to name some players on their defense. But the Colts defense is good, but the Bills offense is even better. If you've heard me and Nick and Joey, too, when he was on the podcast, talk about the Bills, I mean, their offense is really good. Josh Allen has taken that big step. Devin Singletary, who's been having a little bit of a down year, but he's still a pretty good, solid running back. Cole Beasley in the slot, very good. John Brown and is finally healthy again. And then obviously, yeah, right. How could I forget about Stephon Diggs? This is a very good team, and their offense is very good. And that's all credit to 3 factors. Sean McDermott, Josh Allen making that big step from year 2 to 3, and the acquisition of Stephon Diggs. So what do you think about the Bills, Joey? Like, not just obviously in this game, like in general. Do you think they have a chance to make a deep playoff run? Because I personally think they do. What about you? Do you think they can make a deep run or no?
Yeah, I think they can, and they definitely prove it this season. They can prove that they can compete with the big dogs, and they're looking very well this season. They're well coached, and they're playing very, very well. They're playing like the Kansas City Chiefs. They're playing like they could win a Super Bowl, so I think they can.
I agree. I totally agree. Um, and moving back to the Colts, this is most likely going to be Philip Rivers' last game if they lose. He said last week that if they didn't make the playoffs, that Week 17 against Jacksonville would be his final game, but they won, so now there's that. My final question for you, Joey, is: do you think Philip Rivers is a Hall of Famer?
I don't really know. Probably.
Probably. Do you think the fact that because he came out of a really good draft class that had Eli Manning and Big Ben Roethlisberger, do you think the
Yeah.
fact that he's kind of compared to those two kind of hurts his stock to get into Hall of Fame? Because that's what I think. Because he's kind of like the Dan Marino of this generation, I guess. He never won any MVPs, but Philip Rivers has been very good or pretty good his whole career.
Yeah.
So, do you think him not also winning a Super Bowl has a factor in him potentially not making into the Hall of Fame? Or?
Yeah, and I think that it's how he finishes his season will determine that. If he comes out in the playoffs and has, even if he loses but has one hell of a game, it could change the impact of his potential. He could be in the Hall of Fame. So I feel like this game right here could decide that, and how far he gets in the playoffs.
I agree. I'm very on the fence about Philip Rivers. I think he'll be in. I'm like 70% sure he'll make it, but like I agree with you completely. If he makes like a deep run into the playoffs, even to the AFC title game, or if they somehow win the Super Bowl, I could definitely see Philip Rivers. That'd be like the final nail in the coffin and solidifying him into the Hall of Fame. So, with all the facts on the table, Joey, who do you got winning this game between the Bills and the Colts?
So I got the Bills winning 20-21. I think it's gonna be a close game, just like all the rest of the games. But you know, I feel like the Bills are just a superior team in this situation. They've been playing well the whole season, and this is their time to shine and prove everybody that they're a Super Bowl team. So
Contenders? Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think they're gonna win.
I agree. I think the Bills are going to win. I got a little bit bigger of score margin. I got a 27-17 Buffalo. And also, forgot to mention this, the Bills will be having fans at their games for the first time this season. Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, said that he'll allow I think 7,000 people or 6,000, something around there, of people in the stands. So the Bills Mafia will be back. I hope they jump through some tables. That'd be sick. But just a little cool. That's a big factor because home crowd hasn't been there for all the games. I know, I know I see the Seahawks. I know the Seahawks haven't had fans. We'll talk about them next, and the LA Rams. But that's a big factor into the games. I feel like having fans at your stadium is a real big difference in the home field and during the pandemic. I know I think the Steelers can have fans. I know for a fact the Titans and the Bills are having fans. But my point being is, if you can have fans in your stadium, then I think you're at a bigger advantage in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, like I said, I got the Bills winning 27-17. And even though Nick isn't here, Nick still gave me his picks like he did last time Joey was on the podcast. And Nick also believes the Buffalo Bills will win 24-13. So, and also, I forgot to mention this in the beginning. This is my bad, but these are the Saturday playoff games. This playoff games will be played on Saturday and Sunday. And we're just going to go right down the row of when they're being played time-wise. So the Bills will be played about 1 o'clock. And this next game will be played about at 4 o'clock, 4:25-ish Eastern Standard Time. And then the last game will be on prime time, 8:30 EST. So, Joey, with the Bills game covered, would you like to read us into the LA Rams against the Seattle Seahawks?
Yep. So we got the 6 seed Rams versus the 3 seed Seahawks, and Sean McVay will have to decide who will play at quarterback. Because remember last week, do you remember who they started?
Yeah, they started John Walford, who was from the Alliance of American Football.
Yeah, he's a GOAT. He's arguably the best quarterback of all time. So no, but anyways, these are two teams, division teams, and a rivalry, I think. this will be a very, very interesting game to watch, and Jared Goff's, status, whether he plays or not, may decide, the ball game itself. So, I've been watching, the Seahawks all season because I had Russell Wilson on my fantasy team, and he had some on and off games, and he really didn't finish the season that well, and he's being able to win games for the Seahawks, but I'm just not sure that he's going to be him and the Seahawks can be playoff contending teams, the way they've been playing, compared to all the other teams. So I think it's going to be really tough for the Seahawks, but it's also going to be tough for the Rams. Like we just said, with Jared Goff out, their starting quarterback, it's going to be hard to see, how they're going to do offensively. But it's still going to be a very interesting game to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think that as much as hate Jared Goff gets, he is a solid quarterback. I don't think he should have gone one overall in like 2016 or whenever he got drafted, but he's a solid quarterback. I think he's a starting level talent. And I agree with everything you said. I had Russell Wilson in fantasy too, and he seemed to struggle against the Rams both times he played. He had a better game the second time they played last week, but he still, especially the first time, he still somewhat struggled against the Rams, and that's mainly to their defense. Their defense of the Rams is very good. And going into the year, or not going into the year, like me and Nick said before in the podcast, the Rams, when they made the Super Bowl 2 years ago, it wasn't their defense, it was their offense. And now, like 2 years later, their whole scheme, I guess you could say, flipped. And that's a credit to the acquisition of Jalen Ramsey and their new defensive coordinator, who I don't remember his name. I know Wade Phillips was their old defensive coordinator, and he retired or he got fired or whatever. But they're finally found the clicking on defense, which is good because they have the best defensive lineman in the NFL and they have the best cornerback in the NFL. So realistically, they should have a good defense,
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with everything you said, man. If Jared Goff plays, I think this is a lot closer game. But I don't know if the Rams can beat the Seahawks. What do you think about John Wolford? Do you think he played well against Arizona, or do you think he kind of had a poor performance?
Well, I watched that game in like the first couple minutes of the game, and I saw John Wolford go in the game through the interception right away. I was like, oh my God, this guy's a bum. But as the game went on, he was able to use his legs and run the ball and really fool the defense. And I kind of I thought he was actually played pretty good for his first game a while, and I give him a lot of credit for that. But will he be able to step up in the playoffs? I'm not really sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like I said, he was an AAF quarterback, which, by the way, that league was very fun to watch. I'm kind of sad that it folded because, like I said, it was fun to watch and it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. But yeah, and he was actually pretty good in the AAF. People, I guess, the community of the AAF. I didn't watch it all the time, but I watched it somewhat. I know PJ Walker, the Panthers backup, was like the MVP of the league, basically. But anyway, he was considered a pretty good quarterback in the AAF. So I know it's a little bit different because they're not the talent of the NFL guys, but still, he has potential, I feel like, to be a solid backup quarterback. And like you said, he kind of started off slow. I remember I was watching it on ESPN, like for Gamecast, and I saw he threw a pick relatively early. I don't know if, like you said, if it was like the first drive. And I was like, oh, shoot, it's not looking good. But credit to the Rams defense. And like you said, he used his legs a lot and he kind of turned it around. And the Seahawks they played the Seahawks actually. Oh, no, my bad. They played the Cardinals.
Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. But the Seahawks, they kind of struggled against the 49ers last week. The 49ers almost won with their third string quarterback and a lot of guys missing on defense. And obviously the Niners defense is still good. But I expected the Seahawks to win by more,
Yeah.
So I think this will be a good game, but it'll be a very defensive game. Seattle's defense has been stepping up recently, and I know they've been getting trolled, especially Jamal Adams, and people are calling him Blitz Boy, and people have been dogging on their defense. But they have a poor quarterback at QB with the Rams, and the Seattle defense has been playing good. So what do you think if you had one factor to put into this game, Joey? Do you think it'll be Russell Wilson playing well? Do you think it'll be John Wolford? Do you think it'll be a defense or like maybe DK Metcalf or Jalen Ramsey? Like, there's a lot of factors looking at this game, If you had to name one, what would it be?
Well, I would have to say, I know this is not really kind of one specific thing, but I would say the Rams for the defense, and I would say the offense for the Seahawks. If the Rams defense can stop Russell Wilson, then and they get the ball to Wolford, and they have a lot of opportunities to score, then they have a better chance at winning. But if they can't contain the Seahawks, and Russell Wilson goes off and puts a lot of points on the board, I see the Seahawks winning. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And before we get into our picks, I agree with you, man. This will be a very field position dependent game. The Rams defense is going to have to keep them in the game, and the Seahawks offense is going to have to push through them, because that will be the deciding factor. Not the Rams offense; it'll be the Rams defense that wins them this game, and it's not the Seahawks defense; it'll be their offense that wins them this game. Obviously, DK Metcalf and Jalen Ramsey. That's going to be a fun matchup to watch. The best corner going against a really good and young wide receiver. So this will be a fun game to watch. I think, excuse me, I think the Seahawks are going to win 17-13. What about you, Joey?
Yeah, I got a similar score. I think the Seahawks are going to win 20-17. It's going to be, like you said, we're talking about the defense. I feel like, defense is going to affect how the other team's offense plays, and it's really going to affect the outcome of the game. But, I feel like the Seahawks are going to be on top.
Right, and Nick's pick is also the Seahawks. He has Seattle winning 17-10. So let's get into our last game on Saturday. This is a Saturday night game. I don't know why this is the primetime game, because we got the worst playoff team in this game, but whatever. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Washington at the 5-seeded Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 11-5, versus the 4-seeded Washington football team at 7-9. So this is actually a fun fact. I saw this right before the podcast started. This is Tom Brady's first game ever playing as the wild card team. Isn't that crazy, man? In his
that's wild, yeah.
20-year career, 19-year career, he's still putting up great numbers. How can you hate Tom Brady? I mean, you might not like it when he's winning, but damn, he comes over from New England, and he's still putting up great numbers. Arguably a Pro Bowl snub. This is just crazy. What do you think of Tom Brady's first season in Tampa? Success, would you say, or?
Yeah, I would say success. A lot of people have been saying, he's a system QB for the Patriots, and he's coming on this Buccaneers team, and he's proved them wrong. He's been playing very well, and yeah, the Buccaneers have given him a lot of help. They got Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette, they got and other weapons as well. But he's just been able to prove that he's the quarterback. It doesn't matter where he goes, that he's the GOAT. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I agree. And also Antonio Brown, too.
Oh, yeah, AB. I can't forget about him.
They signed him. Yeah, but speaking of wide receivers, here's a big factor into this game. Will Mike Evans play for Tampa Bay? If you guys don't know, Mike Evans, literally right after becoming the first receiver in his first 8 years or 7 years, however, basically Mike Evans has caught over for 1,000 yards every single season he's played, which is better than Jerry Rice, better than Randy Moss, better than Terrell Owens. It was crazy. And right after he did that, he messed up his knee. I don't really know how to explain it. He looked like he hyperextended it. It's not like he tore his ACL. He basically his leg was out, and he stopped moving, but it kept on going forward. It's really hard to explain. Just look up Mike Evans' injury. It's not gruesome or anything. Just look it up. So it's, like I said, it's hard to explain. But will he play or not? Bruce Arians hopes he will, and Chris Godwin, I remember he said something along the lines of, you won't tell him that he can't play. So Mike Evans is very adamant on playing, which I don't blame him, because he's been with the Buccaneers his whole career, and he hasn't made the playoffs once. So I really bet he wants to play in his first playoff game ever, just like every other player on the Buccaneers, like Chris Godwin, Ronald Jones, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, all these players that are on the Buccaneers, they want to play in the playoffs for either the first time or for the first time in a long time. So what do you think? Do you think Mike Evans will play? I personally think he will, maybe on a limited snap count, but I think he'll play because, like I said, he's just adamant. He's a dog. He's determined to play. Do you think Mike Evans in the play or not?
Yeah, I think like you said, a limited snap count, but I also got an interesting thing to say here. I think he might actually sit, because Washington isn't really necessarily a difficult opponent. You know what I mean? They're mainly the worst team in the playoffs. So I feel like they might want to rest him, for him to get better for the next game they face. That might be a harder team. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So I know you said limited snap count. So do you think he'll be on a limited snap count, or do you think they'll just completely sit him unless they need receivers? What do you think?
Yeah, I think unless they need receivers, that they'll sit him out, or that they bad and that and nobody can really get open. But I wouldn't be surprised if they sat him, for rest him and get better so he can play the next game.
I guess we'll have to see. Yeah, it could be either or, man. He could be the starting wide receiver. He could be on a limited snap count, and like you said, he might not play at all. So I guess just stay tuned to what the injury update is, guys. But even if he doesn't play, Tom Brady has a lot of weapons. Obviously, he's got Godwin and Brown, Gronk, Cameron Brate. The tight end's still pretty good. And their tight ends are also really good, man. I mean, if you minus O.J. Howard's injury, Gronk, O.J. Howard, and Cameron Brate are three really good tight ends. So they got, obviously, like I said, they got Gronk and Cameron Brate, and then they got Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, and Scotty Miller too. We can't forget about him. He was a good, solid three receiver before they signed Antonio Brown. And then looking into the Washington side of things, and we haven't even talked about them. The football team have had a crazy Washington has had a crazy, I guess, off season. Obviously, them changing over their name from the Redskins to Washington Football Team. And me and Nick talked about this. We thought that affected them negatively. And let me explain, because let's be honest, guys. If you're a free agent, would you really want to sign with a team that doesn't have a name? I'm not even trying to be like he's being like a douche. Like, I'm being serious. Like, would you want to sign with a team that doesn't have a name? Joey, personally, I would say no. I would not sign with Washington just for the fact they don't have a name. What about you? If you disagree, completely disagree with me, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, look, I totally agree with you, but I hated when they first called them the football team, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't really hate it that much. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of different, because everybody has a mascot, everybody has like a name. So for them just to be the football team, I think it's kind of funny, but I also kind of like it. You know what I mean? Because I don't know, it's just different.
It's definitely unique. But my point with this is being that they had a rough offseason with the whole changing their name from the Redskins to the football team. And it was very, I guess, controversial, you could say. I mean, it all started when I think Dick's or Nike.com pulled all their Redskins merch after, I think, was it the George Floyd protest, or maybe it was his death. It was something with either George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, one of those two awful tragedies. And that's when they started to pull all the Redskins stuff. And then I'm like, oh, God, like, not even – just think of it from the franchise perspective. Like, that just doesn't look good, Like, their name has been controversial for so long. And now this is all happening. And then Dan Snyder, the GM, he's been having some, I guess, I don't know, sexual misconduct allegations. Obviously, they released Dwayne Haskins. So my point being is that Washington has been having a rough spiral out of control. Like I said, with their name changing, with the GM being under fire, the Dwayne Haskins getting released, them losing their merchandise when they were the Redskins, like, everything is just, they've just had a rough offseason, man. And then they somehow win the NFC East at 7-9 with Alex Smith coming back from injury. Like, you can't make this up. This is such a crazy year for Washington.
Yeah.
But my main point with them, before we get into my picks, I kind of rambled on. I still think it's crazy that they made the playoffs. Is they have two factors. Will Terry McLaurin play and Antonio Gibson play? I don't know. I mean, if they don't play, then Washington's getting blown out. If they do, it's going to be a little bit less of a blowout. You know what I mean? But what do you think? Do you think McLaurin and Gibson will play or no?
I honestly don't know either. But
I agree. I can't tell. But that my pick to win this game. I know, guys. Sorry, I kind of rambled on. My pick to win this game. I got Tampa Bay winning an absolute blowout, 35-17. What about you, Joey?
Yeah, I got the Buccaneers winning 35-20. I feel like the Redskins, the football team. Sorry, I can't believe I just said that. I feel Chase Young, the rookie. He's a really good player. He said in an interview that he wants Tom Brady. He wants him. So I wonder how motivated he's going to be in this game. And it's going to be interesting to see how he plays. Hopefully, the offensive line can protect Tom Brady, so he doesn't get his hands on him that much. But I feel like the Buccaneers and Tom Brady, I think they're just hot right now, and they're going to blow away this Washington team that had a tough time putting the Eagles away last week
with their third string quarterback. So I agree.
Yeah.
And Nick also agrees that the Buccaneers will win 31-20. And that concludes the Saturday playoff games. Let's get into the Sunday playoff games, with the first one being the rematch of a game this year and a rematch of the AFC divisional game last year. We got the 5th-seeded Baltimore Ravens at 11-5 against the 4th-seeded Tennessee Titans at 11-5. So, Joey, why don't you tell us about this game between the Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, and Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans?
All right, so this game is obviously going to be a great game. Possibly one of the best games to watch this week, which we'll talk about a little later. But, Lamar Jackson, he recovered from COVID-19, and ever since then, the Ravens have gone 5-0 straight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I personally really like Lamar Jackson. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks. I love his running style. I love the way he plays. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I personally really like the way he plays. And I feel like this is his time to shine. He's in the playoffs. He always said that, he wants to he doesn't want to win games. He wants to win games like in the playoffs. He wants to get the Super Bowl. That's what we've been talking about the last couple of years. Yeah, he wants to win the Super Bowl. That's what he said a couple of years ago. So I feel like this is his time to prove that. This is his time to shine. And, I really hope he could do it. You know what I mean?
I agree. I agree with everything you said, honestly. I think Lamar, like you said, a lot of people don't like him. I don't understand why people hate Lamar Jackson, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm 99% sure of it. Lamar Jackson is a humble person. He isn't cocky. He isn't arrogant. He's not a douche. He's very to himself, and I think people should respect that, because there's a lot of quarterbacks who aren't like that. I don't know why he's coming up to my mind, but Johnny Manziel, for an example, or even Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's kind of cocky. I think it's
Philip Rivers,
yeah, they're just kind of cocky and arrogant, and Lamar Jackson isn't like that, but people still hate Lamar Jackson because they think he is, which is just not true.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think Lamar Jackson and the Ravens have been on a roll since he got COVID, which is crazy, because if you look at Cam Newton, for an example, who had it, he kind of sucked for I guess 2 games after he had it. And then I know some people like Nick will be like, "Oh, he always sucked." Well, yeah, Nick, be quiet. But my point being is that you expect him after he get COVID to kind of take a step back, but he literally did not, which was just crazy. And the Titans, obviously, they're riding the coattails of Derrick Henry. Another quarterback that gets hate kind of is Ryan Tannehill, because people are just like, "Oh, he just hands the ball off to Derrick Henry," and people who say that are just ignorant, in my opinion. Because Tannehill's a pretty good quarterback. Obviously, we saw what he did. We saw what they did last year with Marcus Mariota. And then Tannehill stepped in, he led them to the playoffs and led them to the AFC title game. But Derrick Henry is the big factor of this game. So, Joey, my question to you, the first one of this game, who will have a better game, Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry? I say Derrick Henry. What do you say?
I say Lamar Jackson. I feel like he's on a roll right now, and not a lot of people are talking about the Ravens. You know what I mean? A lot of people are talking about the Bills and a couple other teams, but nobody's really paying attention to the Ravens that much. So I feel like he's kind of under the radar right now. I feel like he's going to come out, and I feel like he's going to have a really great game. But I'm not saying that Derrick Henry's going to play bad. I'm just saying they're both going to have really good games. But I just feel like Lamar Jackson, since he's a quarterback, he's the main player. He's the guy you look at the most. I feel like it'll look like he'll have a better game, and I feel like he will.
I agree. And I agree. I could see that happening. That's what I meant to say. I think Derrick Henry is unstoppable. I think he's the best running back in the league. And I love to see the style that he brings to play, because I know I've said this in the past with Nick, is that most running backs are not like him, where they're just a big dude, me and my friends think Derrick Henry is like a horse, because he's just so hard to tackle, like a big stallion from the Kentucky Derby. Derrick Henry, no one wants to tackle him. No one wants to get in his way. He's like a big Bronco, Mustang.
He's a scary dude.
Scary. And that's why I think he's just going to go off. And we saw what he did last year, made Earl Thomas his lead blocker. That was really funny against the Ravens.
He's done a lot. He's done a lot of those kind of things. He's pushing people around. He's like, he's making them look like little kids out there, you know?
Yeah, and that's what's crazy. Like these are literally grown men, and he's
Yeah,
he's throwing grown with one arm. He's literally throwing them.
I
Like,
know.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
With one arm too.
Yeah, with one arm too. It's not even just like he's trucking them. He's literally just throwing. Like, look at Josh Norman. He got tossed like 5 yards with one hand. So, but anyway, this is going to be a good game. I agree with Joey. I could definitely see this being the best game of the weekend. I know the wild card weekend is probably the most uneventful because the best teams aren't playing, like the Chiefs and the Packers in this year, for just the example. But I still think this will be a good week of football, and I agree that the Ravens are kind of not talked about. I don't think they'll make the AFC title game, but I definitely think they're going to win this week. And that leads right to my pick. I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to win 24-20. Even though the Titans beat them last year and this year, I just think the Ravens are on a roll. And then it's finally clicking for the Ravens, and Lamar Jackson will finally get his first playoff win. What about you, Joey? Who you got win this game?
Yeah, so like you said, both teams. This is going to be a competitive game. Both teams are hungry. So I definitely feel like it's close, but I got the Ravens winning 31-28.
31-28. And then Joe, Nick's pick is he actually disagrees with us both. He has the Tennessee Titans winning. He's got the Titans winning 20-10 against the Baltimore Ravens. And also, like I said, the Titans do have fans, so that might be a factor into it. But yeah, this, like Joey said, this is arguably the best game of the week. I disagree. I think there will be one more if it's better. But I can tell you one thing: it's sure as hell isn't this game coming up. The next game we got is the Bears at 8-8 and the Saints at 12-4. How did the Bears make the playoffs, man? I really think the Cardinals should have been in their spot, but Kyler Murray got hurt, and you can't tell me on paper that the Bears are better than the Cardinals. Like, I'm sorry, I do not like the Chicago Bears. I like their defense.
Me either.
Khalil Mack's good. It's not like them at a point where it's like, oh man, I don't like him like don't like the Eagles. I just don't like Mitch Trubisky. I think he sucks. And I think that the Bears are looking to re-sign him, which is awful because then they have to deal with him again. I think the Bears should go after a dude like Matt Ryan and just completely move on from Mitch Trubisky because he sucks. He holds back this team, man. Look at all the weapons they got.
They should,
Jimmy Graham.
They should have got Mahomes while they had a chance.
They could have gotten Mahomes, man, but they chose – and Deshaun Watson. They chose Mitchell Trubisky. But before I talk about the Saints, Mitchell Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky, as Nick calls him. Before I talk about the Saints, this Bears team has the weapons on offense. They got Allen Robinson, who has been underrated his whole career, and he's always had trash cans thrown to him. You got Jimmy Graham, who is older, but he's a good, reliable tight end. You got the rookie tight end Cole Kmet, who's also decent. What's his name? Darnell Mooney, the rookie wide receiver, is also pretty good. But it doesn't matter because look who's throwing them the ball, Mitch Trubisky. I think Nick Foles is better personally, but they're sticking with Mitch because he knows the offense and that he can actually run like Nick Foles. He can move. Yeah, and then the Saints. The good news is for the Saints is that Michael Thomas is coming back. Do you think Michael Thomas will have a good impact on this game or no? Because he's coming off of an ankle injury, I believe. Do you think that he'll be rusty, or do you think he'll go right back? He'll bounce back good.
I think he's gonna get some solid slant passes toward him. You know what I mean? Isn't he slant boy? Slant boy. I don't know. I've seen like a lot of comments like the people call him slant boy because all he catches is slants. But I feel like if he does return, yeah, he's gonna have a more impactful game. And but also, I don't know if you said this already, but the Saints aren't playing with their running backs, right? Didn't they say they all got COVID and they're not playing?
Oh, wow. That's news to me. Let me double check that. I know that was last week with Carolina, but let me double check.
Because I heard that they might be not playing this game. So just double check real quick because that might affect this game. Nah.
So let me see. ESPN. So Alvin Kamara is practicing remotely. Oh, here we go. Alvin Kamara. We'll see. That's what what's his name? Sean Payton said. We'll see. And this week, Alvin Kamara will be practicing on Zoom. Like I'm a guess, just like meetings and stuff. But I did not know. I thought he would be fine. That's why I didn't even mention it. But like, that will be a big factor into this game. What do you think? Do you think he'll play or not?
I think the Saints are going to do everything in their power to make sure that he plays. Because he's had a really good, last couple of weeks without having COVID. The way he's been playing. So I really like that six touchdown game or something. Didn't he have one of how long ago was that? A couple of weeks ago.
That was the last game he played on Christmas Day.
Yeah, and I just feel like if he's kind of hot. He's hot when he's on the field, and I think if he plays, I think of course it's going to have a difference. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I like Alvin Kamara. Obviously, safety is the top priority. So, like, if he obviously has COVID, I'm not saying start him anyway.
Yeah.
But I think if he's fine and doesn't have COVID and all that good jazz, then he's gonna play. Obviously, I won't be able to. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how this affected him. Excuse me, because it affects all of us differently. Example is like when I had COVID, I didn't really feel anything. I had one day where I was really bad, but basically I wouldn't have even known. But maybe I got lucky, and it affects us all differently. So Alvin Kamara could be getting hit hard, and he could be really sick, or he could just be like asymptomatic, basically, where he's fine. So hopefully he's more towards the asymptomatic side because the Saints could use him. But then again, like we talked about with the Buccaneers in Washington, if there's one game where he could take an extra day off, it'd be this one because the Bears are the second worst playoff team.
Yeah.
So, and also, do you think this is my last question? Do you think Drew Brees has one more run in him to make it to the Super Bowl? I think no. But what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. He's a really good player. He's a Hall of Famer, of course. But I just don't see him playing in football in the future, and I just don't think he's going to really do much, in the playoffs. And
I agree. I personally think they're not going to make the NFC title game. I think they're going to lose in the second round to whoever they play. They kind of got lucky. I mean, honestly, like if they were playing the Cardinals, I literally would have picked the Cardinals over the Saints. I know that might be a little bit of a wow, but yeah. Nothing against Drew Brees. It's just he's older, and like the Saints I feel like they're a little bit better than their record shows.
Yeah, and also the Saints, they haven't really been playing well in the playoffs, the last couple of years, right? They haven't really, done much.
Yeah, last year they lost in overtime to the Vikings. 2 years ago, it was the PI that they didn't call, if you remember that, and then they lost in the NFC title game. And then 3 years ago was the Minneapolis Miracle. So yeah, you're right. They've been kind of falling short in the last couple of times they made it to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I agree, but I do think they'll beat the Bears, and then their traditional playoff woes will continue. And also, before I get into the picks, the Saints have the biggest spread advantage. They are opening up as 10-point favorites against the Bears, which is crazy. And I think the Saints will cover the spread. I got the Saints winning the game 21-10. What about you, Joey?
Yeah, I got a similar score, 21-13. I think they're going to get that extra field goal in there, somehow. But, I think this is going to be. I think the Saints are going to be able to take care of the Bears easily, and they're going to take the game from them. And just even without Alvin Kamara, they can win this game.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, Nick's pick is the Saints as well, 24-10. And also, before we get into the last game, this game will also be on Nickelodeon. So I low-key might go on and watch the game on Nickelodeon just to see what it's like. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, is SpongeBob going to be on it?
I don't know, man. I have no idea. But this is the game because this is the game that will be on Nickelodeon. This one right here, the Bears and the Saints, Sunday at 4:25 Eastern time.
Okay, because I saw somewhere that said SpongeBob is going to be on one of the playoff games. So if this is on Nickelodeon, I'm assuming he's going to be on this one.
Oh, I did not know that he was going to be on the playoff game. I thought they would. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's going to be the third string quarterback for the Saints. That'll move Winston to the fourth. So.
Oh yeah. All right, Joey, lead us into our last game of the wild card weekend on Sunday night.
Okay, so we got this is another pretty good game. So I don't know if this is your game to watch this week, which we'll talk about in a second too. But this is the Browns versus the Steelers. We just watched this game last week with Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, playing at the quarterback for the Steelers, and and the Browns won. But this may be different because they're playing their starters this time, and the Browns, but the Browns lost to the Steelers by 31 points in Week 6 early this season, and they defeated the Pittsburgh backups this time. So it really this game could really go either way because I feel like the Steelers are overrated, and I feel like the Browns are a little overrated too, but they're also kind of under the radar a little bit. But this game could go either way. But I feel like this game could be a momentum changer for the Browns. They haven't made the playoffs in a while. This could be the goal at the end of the rainbow or the light at the end of the tunnel for the Browns
Cleveland
fans and Browns organization
and the city of Cleveland in general.
Yeah,
I agree, but there's one problem. I don't know if this will affect the game. Maybe you have more insight on it than me, but their head coach has COVID-19, Kevin Stefanski, who's been doing an awesome job in his first year. How do you think this will affect the Browns? Do you think it will affect them a lot or not so much?
Yeah, I did not know about that. I'm just hearing about that now. I feel like this could very affect them very much because the head coach. People might think that they don't do much because we have receivers coaches, defensive coach. We have all sorts of coaches,
offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators.
Yeah. But the head coach is kind of like the glue. He's what makes sure kind of like the manager almost, where like he makes sure that everything goes right. He's the one making the decisions, and so I feel like this is very going to impact the game very, very much. And if this game goes down to the wire and there's a mistake made, it could be because he wasn't there.
Right, and the Browns' interim coach is Alex Van Pelt, who is their offensive coordinator, and Aaron Rodgers has confidence in Alex Van Pelt. He was Aaron Rodgers' assistant coach when he was in Green Bay. He was the quarterback's coach for the Packers when right after they won the Super Bowl. So he worked with Aaron Rodgers a couple of years. And Alex Van Pelt also said that he'll be calling the plays just like Kevin Stefanski would. He's not changing anything, which if that's true, that's great because then you're not changing your offense because, I don't know. I haven't really noticed anything in the past, but I said, yes, I have actually. When the Giants offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett, went down against the Browns, and our offensive coordinator was Freddie Kitchens, the Browns' old coach, you could definitely tell that the playbook was different. Like we were running a lot more, we ran a fake punt. We just were doing a lot more stuff that Garrett would not usually be doing. But if Alex Van Pelt will be calling the game just like Kevin Stefanski then, I don't see any reason why to worry for Browns fans,
Yeah.
And before we get into our picks, let's talk about the Steelers for a bit because we've been kind of ignoring them. I think the Steelers are overrated. And I know you said that too. I think Big Ben should retire after this year. Their future is screwed because they don't have a quarterback, they don't have a run game, and they're arguably their best receiver, Juju, is going to be a free agent and he might leave. Their defense is good, but like I already established in the past that you can't have a good defense to be good in the NFL anymore. What are your thoughts on the Steelers, though?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you just said. I feel like, Ben Roethlisberger, his time is coming to an end. Juju becoming a free agent. The Steelers doesn't look bright. I'm not saying they're a really bad team, but bad team in general. I think they're a good team, but I just feel like that they're not going to be up there with the Chiefs or Green Bay. They're not that good, and I could possibly see them just being one of the last really good seasons for a while. And they didn't really play very good opponents, and they played really on and off the season. They had a really good stretch. They're undefeated for a while, but toward the end, they really fell off. Against Washington and a bunch of other teams. So I don't know how I feel, with them in the playoffs.
Yeah, and they started off 11-0, and then they lost 4 of their last 5. They've only won 1 game since they finished 11-0, which is not good.
Yeah.
And I know they started their backups last week, so you could say that doesn't count. But if you don't count that, then they still lost 3 of their last 4 games. So that's also not very good. But I got the Browns winning mainly because I'm on the Believe Land train, man. The Browns have not won a playoff game since 1994. This is the first time they've been in the playoffs in my lifetime. So maybe I'm a little bit on the recency bias. The fact that I was like, oh, I haven't seen this team in the playoffs. Yeah, I'll go. I'll bet them. I'll pick the Browns. I got Cleveland winning 28-24. Man, what about you?
Yeah, I feel like the Browns are going to win this game, 31-27, and I just feel like the Browns, they played the Steelers a bunch this season. They played them a couple of times, and I feel like they kind of scope them out, figure out their weaknesses, and I feel like they're going to come out and they're going to beat the Steelers team, and they're hungry. The city of Cleveland's hungry. They want this W. They haven't had it in a while. They've been really bad in the playoffs, and this is their time to start the new year well. You know what I mean?
Yep. And before I get into Nick's pick, I just realized that the Browns and the Ravens have the brightest future, like in the AFC North. That's possibly the best division in the football. I mean, 3 of their teams made the playoffs, and the Bengals they have a rookie quarterback who is very promising. So depending on what the Bengals do in the draft, I think that the Browns and the Ravens have the 2 brightest futures of the AFC North.
Yeah.
And Nick's pick is he disagrees with us both. He's got the Pittsburgh Steelers winning 24-21 to conclude the wild card weekend. All right. So with all the games done, Joey, let's get into our game of the week to watch. You can give us your game first. What is your game of the week to watch this week, and why?
So I first would like to say that you really can't go wrong watching any of these games. Maybe besides the Saints game and the Tampa Bay game, but other than that, we had some really great competitive games this week. But if I had to pick one, I would choose the Ravens and the Titans. Just because that I feel like this is going to be very competitive. This is going to be a very good game, very close game, and it's what the playoffs are. Competitive, close games, and they're close to seed numbers, and I feel like that this is going to be very entertaining to watch.
Yep, and also the fact that the teams have history with meeting this year in the playoffs and meeting last year in the playoffs. My bad, they met last year and then they met this year during the reg season. So yeah, I agree. They have history. My game to watch, like you said, that you really can't go along with a lot of the games you could pick. I would say the Ravens or Titans are number 2 for me, but number 1 is the Browns and the Steelers. They split their matchup this year, so the Browns won last week and the Steelers won the first time they played. They're AFC North teams, so obviously they have a storied rivalry. So they're big rivals. And the Browns, like I said when I just talked about them, they haven't won a playoff game since 1994. They haven't been in the playoffs since 2002. And last time they were in the playoffs, they were playing the Steelers at Heinz Field in the wild card round. So it's just kind of crazy that they're playing the Steelers again. And a little bit of a fun fact, the last time the Browns won a playoff game, Bill Belichick was their head coach. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Want to hear something crazier? Guess who they beat when they last won the playoff game?
Uh-oh. Was it? Oh, well, hang on. I'm going to take a wild guess right here. Is it the Houston Oilers?
No, it was the New England Patriots.
Oh, really?
Yep, their last game win in the playoffs came against the New England Patriots when Bill Belichick was their head coach. The Browns coach was Bill Belichick. Isn't that crazy?
That is wild. I thought you were gonna say something like a team that isn't around anymore. I thought
no. It was the Patriots. 1994, they beat them in the wild card round. That was before the Patriots had Belichick. So that is crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
So hopefully, like I said, Believeland, they come through. Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Landry, Hooper. The list goes on. Hopefully that they come through, and yeah. And also, Olivier Vernon, the Browns pass rusher, is out for the season with a torn ACL. I think that might affect the game a little bit, but, I mean, they still got Myles Garrett, so I don't think it'll affect them too much,
Mm-hmm. Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb. Oh, my bad. He had he tore his Achilles.
No, I really like Nick Chubb. I had my fantasy league, and he's really, I think he's promising for the future for the Cleveland organization.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that he ran for over 1,000 yards, despite the fact that he missed a lot of games, is also literally crazy. That's insane. He put up, I think, the best year of his career. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure he had the best season, statistically. and he missed like 6 games or something like that. Like he missed a good chunk of the season. He ran for
Yeah,
over 1,000 yards.
yeah. This is his time to win the playoffs. Let's go.
Yep. I'm just double checking on Nick Chubb right now. I want to see how many games he missed due to injury.
Missed like 5 games, didn't he, or something like that?
He missed at least 5. Yeah. He let me just see how many games he played. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He missed 4 games.
Oh, okay, yeah. It seemed
He
like
missed 4, yeah.
5 in fantasy.
5, yeah, 5 with the bye week too. So
Yeah.
he missed 4 games and he still ran for over 1,000 yards. Lastly, we got the picks record between Nick and I. I've kind of pulled ahead in the lead. Nick's pick record is 66-41. Mine is 69-38. So that is that. So, guys, thank you for listening to the Gridiron Talk podcast. I keep on stuttering. Oh my lord. It was a fun episode. I'm really happy you guys have been tuning in. I don't know what to do after the season's over. Please, guys, give me some recommendations. I'm thinking of just making a podcast maybe every 2 weeks instead of one, and just making it, like I said, like 2 weeks instead of one. So it'll be a little bit different, but I'll still be giving you guys some content. I forgot to mention this in the beginning of the episode, but this is the first Gridiron Talk podcast of 2021. So Happy New Year to anyone. And yeah, Joey, would you have anything to add?
Yeah, for everybody watching, I give a lot of credit to Will. He spends a lot of time with this podcast. He works very hard on it. And, if you haven't watched already, watch some of our past episodes and watch some of those past episodes and see what you think. And, give us drop a comment below if you got any suggestions for us to what to do in off season. What would you like to see? And it's been a great season. I had a great time.
Yeah, and I'm sure I really want to do a 3-man episode with you, me, and Nick. That is the goal. Hopefully sooner rather than later. I know we're kind of running out of time. We only got 3 weeks left, but I want to do I don't know, right before the Super Bowl. I'm hoping that we can have like an award ceremony episode into one. So we'll be talking about the games and our award favorites. But I'll see you guys next week. With the divisional round, we'll talk about the Chiefs and the Packers and whoever wins this week. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like Joey said, if you guys like this video, don't forget to like the video, comment, subscribe, share it to all your friends and family who are interested in football. And, yeah, you guys don't forget to watch the football this week. Have a good one, guys.
Peace out.